I am 67 years old now, and I used to think I knew my body pretty well. I figured a little headache here and there, some stiffness in the joints, or forgetting where I put my keys was all just part of getting older. I used to laugh it off and say, that is just what happens when you hit your 60s. But then something changed. One morning, I blanked on my grandson's name. It only lasted a moment, but it shook me. It was like my mind froze, and I had no control. That small moment made me start paying closer attention to all the little things I had been ignoring. I realized that the body speaks to us in whispers long before it screams. And some of those whispers, those minor symptoms, are not so minor at all. In this video, I want to share 6 small signs I once brushed off, thinking they were no big deal. But each of them ended up teaching me something important about health, about aging, and about the power of early action. I am not here to scare you. I am here to talk to you honestly, like I would to a friend over coffee. Because if you are over 60, like me, I believe you deserve to know what I wish I had known sooner. So, take a moment. Listen closely. One of these 6 signs might just sound familiar, and it might save you more than you think. Symptom 1. Forgetting names or words. It started off small. I would be in the middle of a sentence and suddenly pause, trying to find a word that just vanished from my mind. I would be telling a story, something I had told dozens of times before, and suddenly I could not find the right word for something simple, like refrigerator or mailbox. I laughed it off, saying, "My brain is just warming up," but deep down, I felt unsettled. Then one afternoon, something happened that I will never forget. My grandson ran into the room, smiling from ear to ear. He had just scored a goal at his soccer game and could not wait to tell me about it. I looked right at him, full of pride, and went to say his name. And it was gone. Just gone. My own grandson. His name was right there in my head, but I could not pull it out. I ended up calling him Buddy and gave him a hug, pretending nothing was wrong. But I knew something was not right. That moment scared me more than I cared to admit. Later that night, I told my wife about it. She listened quietly, then gently placed her hand on mine and said, "Maybe it is time to talk to a doctor." At first, I pushed back. I did not want to be dramatic. Everyone forgets things once in a while, right? But the truth is, this was not just once in a while. It was becoming more frequent, and I had been ignoring it. So I went to see a specialist. We did some tests. Nothing invasive, just memory exercises and questions. The doctor told me I had something called mild cognitive impairment. It was not full-blown dementia or Alzheimer's, but it was a sign that my brain was starting to change. The good news was that we had caught it early and there were things I could do to help slow it down. I changed my diet, started doing daily puzzles, and walked every day. I joined a local memory class at the community center just to keep my brain active. And most importantly, I began talking about it with my family, with friends my age, even with people who follow me online. Because I realized how many of us silently go through these changes and never say a word out of fear or embarrassment. If you have found yourself struggling to find words or forgetting names of people you care about, please do not ignore it. You are not losing your mind. You are not broken. But you might be missing an early warning sign, one that is easier to manage if you act early. I wish someone had told me sooner that forgetfulness is not just part of aging. It can be a sign that your brain is asking for help, and it is not too late to do something about it. Symptom 2. Sudden or unusual fatigue. I have always been the kind of person who likes to keep moving. Even after retirement, I stuck to my routine. Every morning, I would take a brisk walk around the neighborhood, say hello to the same dogs, wave to the same neighbors. It was my way of staying connected, not just to others, but to myself. But about a year ago, I started feeling tired, and I do not mean just sleepy or lazy. I mean a deep, dragging kind of tired that hit me out of nowhere. I would get up, have my coffee, lace up my walking shoes, and make it halfway around the block before I had to stop. My legs felt like they were filled with sand. My chest felt heavy. I would come home and sit down, telling myself maybe I just did not sleep well. That kept happening. Day after day, I found myself needing more naps, cutting walks short, and skipping activities I used to enjoy. My friends invited me out to lunch, and I would say no. Not because I did not want to go, but because I just felt worn out. I even started falling asleep in the middle of the afternoon, which was never like me. My wife noticed. One evening she said, "You have not been yourself lately. Something is off." And she was right. I was not myself. I felt like a dimmed version of who I used to be. After enough of those days, I finally went to the doctor. I described the fatigue and the way it came out of nowhere. After some blood tests, I found out I was low on vitamin B12 and iron, two common deficiencies in people over 60. My red blood cells were not carrying oxygen like they should, and it made every movement feel heavier than it needed to be. With the right supplements and a few changes to my meals, my energy started coming back. It did not happen overnight, but I could feel the difference. I walked a little farther. I stayed awake through the afternoon. I said yes to lunch again. And slowly, I felt like myself. I never would have guessed that something as basic as low vitamins could affect me so deeply. And that is the thing. We often think fatigue means we are just getting older, but that is not always true. Sometimes fatigue is a message. It is your body waving a little red flag saying, "Pay attention, I need something." So if you have been feeling tired for no reason, do not push through it blindly like I did. Do not chalk it up to age and move on. Get it checked. You might be surprised how much better you can feel with just a little help. Symptom 3. Persistent back pain. Back pain is something most of us deal with at some point, especially as we get older. For a long time, I figured it was just part of the deal. I had spent decades working on my feet, lifting boxes, fixing things around the house, helping my kids move in and out of apartments. A sore back? That felt like a badge of honor, not a warning sign. But then the pain changed. It was no longer just a dull ache after a long day. It started waking me up at night. I would roll over in bed and feel a sharp pull in my lower back. In the mornings, it took me several minutes just to get up and straighten myself out. I began avoiding things I used to enjoy, like gardening or helping my neighbor hang decorations, because I just could not bend or twist the way I used to. I told myself I would wait it out. I thought maybe I had just pulled a muscle and needed a few days of rest, but a few days turned into a few weeks, then months. My posture changed without me noticing. I started sitting more, moving less, and little by little, I was shrinking away from my own life. One afternoon, my friend Carl came over. He is about the same age as me and had been through a rough patch with back pain himself. When I told him about my constant discomfort, he gave me a long look and said, "That is exactly how mine started." Carl had ignored his pain too, and it turned out he had compression fractures in his spine due to advanced osteoporosis. He had to go through months of rehab and now relies on a cane to get around. That hit me hard. I realized I had been ignoring something that could be serious, so I finally scheduled an appointment with my doctor. We did a bone density test and some x-rays. The results showed early signs of bone thinning and mild degeneration in my lower spine. It was not severe yet, but if I had waited longer, I might have ended up in Carl's situation. The good news was that there were steps I could take to strengthen my bones and manage the pain. My doctor recommended calcium and vitamin D supplements, light physical therapy, and specific back exercises to support my spine. I also learned how important it is to keep moving, even when it hurts, but to move the right way, not to push through pain, but to work with it, patiently and wisely. The difference it made was huge. Within a couple of months, my pain started to ease up. I was able to sleep better, move more freely, and most importantly, regain a sense of confidence in my body. I realized how much of my independence was tied to being able to stand tall, walk comfortably, and do simple things without pain. If you have had back pain that will not go away, especially if it has been more than 6 weeks, please do not write it off as just another sign of aging. Persistent pain is your body's way of saying something is wrong. It could be a sign of osteoporosis, arthritis, nerve compression, or even something more serious. The earlier you catch it, the more options you have. I am glad I listened to my friend Carl that day. I am glad I listened to my body, because pain, no matter how common, is not normal when it lasts that long. And you deserve to live without it. You deserve to move through your day with ease, not fear. So please, do not wait as long as I did. If your back is trying to tell you something, listen. Symptom 4, shortness of breath. It started off so subtly, I almost did not notice. One morning, I walked up the stairs from the basement after doing a load of laundry. Nothing unusual, just a regular day. But when I got to the top, I was out of breath, not gasping, not wheezing, just winded. I leaned against the wall for a moment, thinking, maybe I moved too fast. But deep down, I knew something felt off. Over the next few weeks, I began noticing it more. I would walk from the parking lot to the grocery store entrance and feel like I needed to pause before grabbing a cart. I used to climb the hill behind my house with my grandson to watch birds, just a 5-minute hike. But suddenly, it felt like climbing a mountain. My chest would tighten slightly. I did not feel pain exactly, but there was a pressure, like I had to work harder just to breathe. Still, I told myself it was normal. I was over 60. I was not supposed to feel like I did in my 30s, right? Maybe I was just out of shape. Maybe it was the weather. I found excuse after excuse, but the feeling kept returning. Quiet, steady, and increasingly familiar. Then came the day it really hit me. I was helping my neighbor carry a couple of boxes up her front steps, nothing heavy. But halfway through, I had to stop. My heart was racing. I felt dizzy. My shirt clung to my back from sweat, and I had only been lifting for a few minutes. My neighbor looked concerned and asked if I was okay. I smiled and waved it off, but truthfully, I was rattled. That night, I sat with my wife at the kitchen table and told her what had been happening. She listened closely and then said something I will never forget. It is not just age, sweetheart. That is not normal. The next day, I went to see my doctor. We did some basic tests first, a stethoscope, blood pressure, a walk test. Then she recommended a stress test and an echocardiogram. I will admit I was nervous. I was worried they would find something serious. And they did. Not life-threatening, but important. I had early signs of coronary artery disease. Some of my arteries were narrowing, and my heart was working harder than it should. The shortness of breath was my body warning me. I was lucky. I had not had a heart attack. I had not collapsed or ended up in the emergency room. But I was headed in that direction if I had kept ignoring the signs. My doctor laid out a plan. Better diet, regular low-impact exercise, medication to help reduce the strain on my heart, and regular checkups. It was not overwhelming. It was manageable. And most importantly, it worked. Within a few months, I could breathe easier. I could go on walks again. I felt lighter, stronger, and more confident in my body's ability to support me. What shocked me the most was how easy it had been to explain it all away. I am just tired. I am getting older. I probably need more sleep. We get so used to dismissing our bodies, especially when we are trying to be strong or not make a fuss. But breathing, something we do without thinking, should not feel like work. If walking across a room or up a few steps leaves you winded, do not ignore it. Shortness of breath, especially when it comes on gradually, can be a silent signal from your heart or lungs that they need help. Symptom 5. Loss of appetite or unexplained weight loss. For most of my life, I had a healthy relationship with food. I looked forward to meals, especially the ones my wife cooked. Her chicken soup on cold days, her homemade meatloaf on Sundays, even the little bowl of fruit we shared before bed. It all meant more than just nourishment. It was comfort, routine, and connection. But about 8 months ago, something shifted. I began to notice I was skipping meals. Not on purpose, but simply because I was not hungry. My stomach felt fine, but the idea of eating just did not appeal to me. I would take a few bites and feel full. Sometimes I would go all day and only realize in the evening that I had barely eaten. At first, I brushed it off. I thought maybe I had caught a little bug, or maybe I was just stressed. Then my pants started fitting differently. At first, I thought the waistband was stretching, but then my belt moved down a notch, then two. My wife asked me if I had lost weight, and I honestly was not sure. I had not been trying to, but when I stepped on the scale, I was surprised to see I had lost nearly 10 pounds in just a couple of months. That is when the worry set in. I was not dieting, not exercising more, and yet the pounds were coming off. I felt a little weaker, like my muscles were not keeping up. Even walking felt slightly different, like I had less padding on my legs and hips. Still, part of me hesitated to go to the doctor. I told myself it was probably nothing. But in the back of my mind, I remembered a friend of mine, Roger, who ignored his sudden weight loss. It turned out to be a serious health issue. That memory pushed me to act. At the doctor's office, they ran a series of tests, blood work, a scan, and some basic nutritional assessments. It turned out I had a mild digestive issue that was preventing my body from properly absorbing nutrients. Nothing life-threatening, but it was enough to cause unintentional weight loss and loss of appetite. It was the kind of thing that, if left untreated, could have led to bigger problems like vitamin deficiencies, muscle wasting, or even an increased risk of falls. With treatment and a few changes to my diet, smaller, more frequent meals, adding in some high-protein snacks, and taking a supplement recommended by my doctor, I began to feel stronger again. My appetite returned gradually, and I regained some of the weight I had lost. But more importantly, I regained energy. I felt more alert, more present, and more like myself. What this experience taught me is that appetite is not just about food. It is about life. When your appetite fades, sometimes your joy fades with it. Meals are not just fuel. They are moments. They are the time we sit with loved ones, share stories, laugh, and feel connected. If you have noticed that food no longer tastes good, or that you feel full too quickly, or you are losing weight without trying, please do not ignore it. These are not just minor issues. They can be signs that something deeper is going on. It might be something simple and easy to fix, like in my case, or it could be the early warning sign of something more serious. Symptom 6. Frequent nighttime urination. There was a time when I could sleep straight through the night. I would turn off the light at 10 and not open my eyes again until the sun came through the window. Those nights felt like nothing short of a blessing. But somewhere along the way, things changed. It began with one trip to the bathroom each night. I did not think much of it. I figured I drank too much tea before bed, or maybe my bladder was just getting older, like the rest of me. But then, one trip became 2. Then, 3. Before I knew it, I was waking up almost every hour just to relieve myself. I would stumble to the bathroom in the dark, half asleep, then lie awake afterward, staring at the ceiling. It was not just annoying, it was exhausting. I was not getting real rest. During the day, I felt groggy. I had trouble focusing. I even started nodding off during my afternoon reading, something I used to enjoy. My energy was dropping, but I could not figure out why. I never had pain or discomfort, just this constant, quiet disruption that stole my nights. At first, I did what many of us do. I blamed it on aging. I told myself, well, that is just what happens when you get older. But deep down, I knew something was off. My wife noticed too. She said, "You are up more than you are asleep." And she was right. It was not just about the trips to the bathroom. It was about what those trips were doing to my life. I finally brought it up to my doctor during a routine checkup. He asked a few questions and ordered some basic tests: blood work, a urine analysis, and a check of my prostate. The results surprised me. While I did have a slightly enlarged prostate, which is common in men my age, there was also something else. My blood sugar was elevated, not high enough to be considered diabetes, but clearly in the pre-diabetic range. Frequent urination at night, it turns out, can be one of the first signs of high blood sugar. My kidneys were working overtime to flush out the excess, and it was keeping me up all night. That small symptom, the one I thought was just a normal part of aging, was actually my body trying to warn me. Since then, I have made a number of changes. I adjusted my diet, cutting back on added sugars and processed foods. I started walking more. I drink most of my fluids earlier in the day and limit caffeine in the evening. Slowly but surely, I began sleeping longer. Sometimes I still wake up once, but once is a whole lot better than 4 times. The improvement in my sleep changed everything. My energy came back. My mood improved. I felt like myself again. And all because I paid attention to a symptom that, honestly, I almost ignored. If you are finding yourself waking up multiple times a night to use the bathroom, please do not chalk it up to age without asking questions. It could be your prostate, your blood sugar, your kidneys, or even a side effect of medication. Whatever it is worth checking out. Your sleep is not a luxury. It is a necessity. It is the foundation for your health, your memory, your strength, and even your ability to enjoy the people and moments around you. So, listen to your body. If it is waking you up at night, it is not just being inconvenient. It might be trying to protect you. As we get older, it is easy to dismiss little signs, forgetting a word, feeling more tired, waking up at night, as just part of aging. I used to think that too. But I have learned that our bodies speak quietly at first. These minor symptoms are often early warnings, not just background noise. Paying attention saved me from bigger problems down the road, and it can do the same for you. If anything I shared today feels familiar, do not wait. Talk to your doctor. Ask questions. You are not being dramatic. You are being wise. We still have so much life ahead, and we deserve to live it fully with strength, clarity, and peace of mind. Thank you for listening to my story. And if it helped you, even just a little, share it. Someone else might need it more than you know. You are not alone. We are walking this journey together, one mindful step at a time.